Hello, this is Annie. I'm coming at you today with a Halloween special, and that is a nice and cozy autumny speed build. And I decided to make a Hobbit house because nothing says autumn and coziness quite like a Hobbit house, I think. So I'm using this very rural and foresty map with a lot of hills and slopes, and I'm using this lot that has a very steep slope, and quite unlike most Hobbit houses that you normally see, this one isn't built into a hill, but rather into a slope. So what you will see later is that I also created a sort of back patio with a door leading outwards. And I quite liked it that way because it reminded me a bit of a fox's den with several entrances and exits. And as you can see here, I'm using this amazing piece of custom content, and that is sort of roof pieces that look like grass, and those are cloned from the solar panels, actually. They're really, really amazing. So they just snap onto the roof and makes it look this awesome. So as you can see, there are some little holes next to the edge of the roof where it connects to the foundation. But I managed to cover those up, luckily, with some greenery later on. But they look a bit odd right now, I have to admit. And of course, I'm using these gorgeous Hobbit doors and arches and windows. They're also a very, very nice piece of custom content. And you couldn't really create a convincing Hobbit house without them, I think. And here we have the downstairs area. Now you can see a bit more closely what I did here. So there's a foundation surrounding all of the walls except for the one where the door is. So that allows you to not only have a door leading outwards, it also allows you to have windows, to have actual daylight into the cellar as well. So that's a very neat trick to use, particularly actually on beach lots. I've used that technique a lot. So I really recommend you try that out if you ever try to build something on the beach, because there's always that downward slope there. And here you can see I'm covering up the holes in the walls, like I mentioned, with these very luscious bushes. And that also does one more thing, and that is covering up the foundation a bit, because of course you can't really have a cellar without a foundation, so the upstairs area can't be level with the ground. So I used a lot of fences and rocks and bushes and things to make sure that it looks a bit more seamless and not that it's poking up too much from the ground. And here I'm adding some nice wall decorations as well to sort of frame everything and give a bit more detail. I think that was needed, especially when you have these kinds of, stone walls or one wall color all over the building. It's important to have different textures in different places to not make it look too flat, sort of, if you know what I mean. And here we move on to the back patio area, or the garden, I guess, because this is going to be, of course, a nice garden with some pumpkins I'm placing down here. Very autumny indeed. And I think that I placed those a bit too close to each other, unfortunately, so I don't think that they can be used properly like that, but it looks nice anyway. So if you would use that kind of plants, you would probably have to fiddle around a little bit with the placement of those to make them, to make it work to use them. And here I struggled a bit with the staircases, because you always have to have the slopes exactly right for the staircases to want to cooperate sometimes. But yeah, it worked out in the end, thankfully. And here I'm adding some more plants. I think that the plants are probably the most important part of the outside, really, because without them, the house would look really, really odd, I think. But adding a lot of greenery really transforms it. and really gives that sort of cozy Hobbit feeling that you need. So yeah, sort of imagine what this would look like without all the trees and the plants, sort of. And yeah, here we have another staircase leading down towards the house, and I'm actually creating a winding road leading up to the asphalt. I didn't prepare enough to find a nice road that I could have that's more like medieval, I guess. I tried one, but that changed the entire grass as well, the grass texture. So yeah, I didn't feel like messing around with that, so I just decided to keep it and delete the road instead. But that's of course a possibility in The Sims 2, that you can add a a road that's invisible for one thing, and you can add a cobblestone road, and you can add dirt roads and things. So that's really, the sky's the limit in this game, I think, and that's really, really awesome. And I'm adding some nice fireplaces as well. This is not going to stay. I'm finding that stove instead. That looks a lot better. And I'm fiddling around a bit with the fridges here because, well, I didn't really have a lot of medieval things in my folders. So I decided to not be too harsh on myself while building this. I'm sort of imagining this Hobbit to be sort of modern. This is my imagination of a Hobbit living in modern times. So he's got things like, plumbing for one thing, and he's also going to have a typewriter and a record player upstairs. But so he's not got an Alexa or anything, but he's got modern things for a Hobbit, I think. And rather than a fridge in the kitchen, I decided to add in an invisible fridge and just a sort of a cupboard that looks like that would be where he stores his food. And I also decided to put down the sink outside because, I thought that looked quite rural, I guess, or old-fashioned. And here I'm moving on to the dining area. And I really enjoyed messing around with this because I'm going to be adding a lot of picture frames, or paintings rather, onto the wall. And that poor Hobbit having to put all those paintings up onto that stone wall can't have been easy. But it looks really awesome, I think. And, shifting paintings up and down and matching things is really fun, I think. And you can really make something look extremely unique that way by combining things and sort of fitting things together a bit like Tetris. That's really enjoyable to me. And now we're moving on to the bathroom. And this was around the time that I realized that, maybe wooden floors isn't that realistic in this basement. Better put down some stone floors instead. So I switched that out. And here you can see what I mean about the modern things this Hobbit has. All of the plumbing inside of his bathroom, for one thing. But it made sense to me, and I found these really nice old-fashioned things to add in anyway, so it resolves itself in the end. And here I'm moving on to the bedroom then. This is going to be a solitary Hobbit. I modeled him a bit after both Frodo and Bilbo, and I think that those two are probably not the typical Hobbit, really, because I have this idea of the Hobbits being quite social, really, most of them, but both Frodo and Bilbo are living alone and quite a bit away from other Hobbits, as far as I'm understanding it. So yeah, this Hobbit is also going to be a recluse. And I enjoyed putting up some more picture frames in there as well. And here I'm starting on the upstairs area. That is going to be the living room. So The Hobbit, of course, has an entrance with a wardrobe and nice things. And here I'm moving on to the living room with all the book cases and also the desk that is going to hold the typewriter later. And this is a really nice couch as well, with lots of pillows already on it, so that saves a lot of time, not having to go in and place pillows one by one if you want that on the couch. So I like that. And I'm adding in some more plants just to tie everything together, and I thought that looked really nice with that window looking out into the garden with some flower pots in front of it. And I like the realism of doing that as well, because I imagine that well, the plants of course need sunlight in order to thrive indoors, so that's what I did there. And here I'm adding a sort of shelf and the record player that I mentioned. And yeah, the shelf didn't have a lot of slots, unfortunately, so I had to use some OMSPs to not make it look too empty. But I didn't go crazy with the clutter this time. The things that I did pick out were things that I figured looked a bit like they were sort of used for living off the land, such as this basket with, I think, leeks in it, and that the bird cage, things like that. That makes it seem a bit more like this hobbit isn't really going to the store to get things. He's picking things in his garden and perhaps hunting a bit or fishing and, yeah, you know, things like that. And I added in quite a lot of lanterns. I didn't want to use anything that looked too modern, of course, so there's a lot of candles and things in here. And to finish it off a bit, making it look a bit more Halloween-y, I decided to add in some pumpkins up front to tie it all together. And here we have it, the finished house. Thank you so much for watching this speed build. Take care, see you next time. Happy Halloween!